So, good night, everyone. This is actually a very special session that has been coming for a long, long time. I think maybe since last year. Uh, I think. We're going to make a podcast on music buddies, talking about Godspeed You, Black Emperor. And tonight I'm your host, the idiot who likes Prog. And then we have a nice set of characters to present here. We have, after a long time, Phallus, who's come back. We have Sweat,
I'm
who
back.
has been on the Nine Inch Nails podcast last week. We have Soup, who's present here. We have who was also
on the
and also
podcast
the
last
another person who was also on the podcast was Gabe. We have Noah, who's driving, but I don't know if he's gonna participate.
Probably not. I'll probably hang up and drive.
And then we have Hurley and Gary here with us. Hey. So, Godspeed You, Black Emperor. It's one of the most iconic bands at the moment. Like, they were founded in Canada in 1994. They released a thing that no one has fucking heard about. All Lights Fact on the Harry Armed Rolling in 1994. I didn't know that
Whoa.
any of the songs were leaked online. So
Yeah. I
Yeah,
didn't know that
so-
either. Like,
Yeah, I heard it.
I think there's two, aren't there?
There's
Or
two
supposedly. Supposedly.
that are confirmed. Two songs that are confirmed. and
Which
nobody
ones?
knows the rest. I
what are the
believe.
names? Too. Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't listened to them.
They're kind of
So-
shit.
The last two songs on the
Oh,
first side.
I think it is the last. I think they are in sequence on the record.
They are. It's Random Lovely Moncton Blues and Dad Mom Daddy.
So Gary, have you listened to this?
Yeah, those dudes
You
sound
you
like
said you listened to this.
Me? I've listened to it like on YouTube once. I kind of remember that they were really lo-fi, kind of almost slint like.
Almost Lynn. Like
Almost
that sounds
like-
interesting.
That's what I remember.
I mean, Slint did do some post-rock
Not
sometimes.
really.
quite often. Actually, they
Yeah,
did it on
but-
the.
I think it was
Yeah,
the
like
beginning-
you can definitely say that. For example, Washer and For Dinner are definitely post-rock. Like that, I would say.
I mean,
directly
I think they
influenced Godspeed You.
influence, but they're not directly post rock. They may have aspects of it, but I think they stood with more with their math rock sound,
I also
to put it
think
in a way.
over between the decades, like this occupies
No.
the definition of post-rock kind of changed, and we're gonna
Okay.
probably talk about that. But this
Yeah,
is
like
the influence on that.
post-rock in and of itself is not something that is very concise.
Not really.
Yeah.
It
Pretty vague. Pretty
Well,
vague.
it became that after a long time.
Yeah, like Talk is very, very different from,
Yeah.
let's say, Godspeed You.
Okay, so
Very different.
Well,
if
obviously.
if we're gonna talk about Slint, they were primarily a post-hardcore band, but I'd count them in the genre because, I mean, you're probably talking about Spiderland, but Spiderland is so
yeah,
many different
yeah.
things.
I mean,
Yeah,
Spiderland
Spiderland is post-rock
yeah.
band,
I can say that some
post-hardcore.
songs on
Yeah.
Spiderland have some aspects of
There's also
post rock. Yeah,
the
the entitled
EP.
one. The entitled one. Yeah,
Right.
More
yeah.
math rock though than anything
No,
else.
side B
The
is very
second
post-hardcore,
song,
very
mm,
noisy.
Yeah, but I think the one that has most post rock aspects, if we're talking about Slint and post rock, I think Spiderland is the one that has the most. Out of them.
Oh, of course.
Well,
Yeah.
well, Spiderland has like a lot of uncommon time signatures laced all over it, so I can see
Yeah.
math rock.
Gabe
Yeah,
knows
Me
that.
too.
I don't think uncommon time signatures alone makes
Not
something
singularly, but
Yeah, I
it's
mean-
one of the most like.
Like
Yeah.
twinkly math rock, kind of like. I think that's what you're
like
talking about.
like Midwest emo type. I don't. Where are you coming from here?
American
No,
football.
but like
It's like-
Okay.
I would say, like I would definitely say, listen to Washer and For Dinner alone. Not any just ignore the first three and Good Morning Captain. If you just listen to those two, you cannot deny.
I can
that that's
actually
post-rock
say
in
that
and
Good
of
Morning
itself.
Captain has some post rock
Yes.
aspects to it.
Good Morning
Yeah.
Captain is like the climax,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is like the hallmark
Exactly.
of post rock. So
Um, Aren't we talking?
we're gonna. Okay, so
Let's go back to
to talk about Godspeed, I think at the end we're gonna mention another band that is kind of its own thing, but at the same time post rock. The Thesilvia Mansayan Memorial Orchestra. But at the end, first of all, we're gonna focus on the main releases by the band. They were formed so.
Wait, was I supposed to hear that? I didn't hear any of the
Not really,
I
not
coincidentally
really,
heard
but
about it 3 days
we're
ago.
only gonna talk about because Godspeed has many side projects, quote unquote side projects, to put it in a way.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
like 30 members, so obviously
So,
it's gonna have side projects.
So supposedly the band formed in 1994, and then in 1997 they would release their first album, proper album, on vinyl. That would then be re-edited, but we're gonna talk about that later. The FA Infinity, that was released in August, and it's composed by two sides. And I think this is one of the strongest debuts in history. To be honest, to be completely honest.
I agree.
I think the mastermind of the entire band as a whole of this period would be Moya, the one that touches the guitar, that plays the guitars and the banjo. But to put it in a way, this is one unique album for the time that it came out. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing like
Yeah,
We're
we're
talking about the
we're
vinyl,
talking
right?
about the vinyl
the
first.
The vinyl
Yeah.
release
Okay.
with Nervous at Poor.
Yeah,
and
that
Wicked
have
Reviews.
many like segments on them, to put it in a way.
Of course, but those are the
Yeah.
individual movements
Uh,
of the song.
To be honest, I have to say that they would refine, because to me this has some spots that don't go as well together as they would in the reedition, and I think that's why they perfected it, to put it in a way, because to me the other release of this album would be much better than this one. However, this one is really unique and really enjoyable for what it is. It's only two sides once, and to put it in a way, the best way I can describe this album is, and the thing that like describes most of Godspeed's work until Yankee, to put it in a way, is that it has an apocalyptic, kind of political and dark tone to its tracks that then like climaxes on this like crescendo, to put it in a way.
Well, it's that you said that it climaxes, but that's the thing. FA Infinity doesn't have that climax sound that is present in, let's say, Lift Your Skinny Fist. It does, like the vinyl itself doesn't have that many like big crescendo.
Yeah,
climaxes
but
after
it does
15 minutes.
climax. It does
That's
climax
what happens,
atmospherically. Like there's a lift in tone. Like for example, in the first track, when it gets to the section of drugs in Tokyo and then goes to the outro, like that's kind of that transition is what I define as a climax. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a whole explosion of sound or instrumental. It's something calm that you can feel. This is stupid to say, but you can kind of feel the climax in a way. It's not as it's not as present as in lift your skinny fits. However, I think it's equally as powerful, to put it in a way, without using that climax of instruments. Okay, so I'm gonna ask for opinions
Pretty much.
by order. So Gary, what do you think of the vinyl version of FA?
Oh boy, I have not heard. Just I'll talk about the CD version. That's the one I listened to because
We're gonna get to
We're
the CD
gonna get to
version
the CD
soon, which I
version
actually
soon.
think is much better.
I'll wait.
But okay, Hurley, what do you
Talk
think
about
about
it
the vinyl version of FA Infinity?
It is enjoyable. I'll give it that. But the problem that I have with it is that some tracks, they seem a bit aimless. Like there's no direction that they want to go in. Like the last track, it seems like just a bunch of sections just thrown in. Well, the first track, yes, it is amazing. I'll give it that. The intro is amazing. Well, I'm repeating myself, sorry. It's beautiful and dark, but, I don't really want to put this version on when I have the CD version, which I'll talk about eventually. It is enjoyable, though. I'll give it that.
I think that what you said exemplifies the most. Like, I think the band knew that as well. That some track, like the, especially the second side, was kind of aimless. Was kind of a bunch of instrumental tracks put together. However, I think that they knew that, and that's what they re-edited the entire album into a much more like a condensed and understandable piece of music, to put it away. But yeah, I mean, I get your point. So, Gabe, what do you think of the vinyl version of FAU Infinity? Ah, shit.
have not
Okay,
heard it.
so, Soup,
Come on.
Soup, what is your opinion on the vinyl version?
Ugh, okay. Um, I haven't heard this in like a long ass time, but yeah, I did have kind of like similar complaints with it. It was a good sound, but just overall, like again, the CD version exists, and the second side is just it doesn't feel as cohesive as it should be. Given that it's from these guys, kind of.
Yeah, it's much more. I think Hurley said it best. It's kind of aimless at some points. Yeah,
Yeah. It's just
Also,
not
I
really
feel like
aimless,
the
it's just
yeah.
incoherent.
So what were we saying, Hurley?
I want to start.
No,
Yeah, sorry for interrupting, but I feel like also the lo-fi production and atmosphere that it goes for a little bit, it doesn't really work because as a result, I don't feel like I've gone anywhere as the next CD version does. But I'm not going to spoil my enjoyment for that at the moment.
mm. So, Sweat, what do you think of the vinyl version?
I think the vinyl version is slightly different and adds virtually nothing. I just heard it today.
Is it just me that is listening to robot noises? Sweat, like sweat. Can anybody
No.
else like hear?
I
Sweat?
can
Oh no! Am I?
I can
not
hear you.
audible?
Yeah, you're so
Sounds fine
fine.
on my end.
Yeah, sounds
I can
fine.
hear him. I can
Go
hear him.
ahead. Go ahead. Continue.
Okay. Well, the vinyl version of this record does not add much other than the dead flag being like kind of longer and has that really cool banjo sample at the end. I think that I don't know if they use this kind of these samples in live edits, but like a lot of the coolest things here are like the sound collages that are kind of occasionally on the record. I think they use that live, and that would be cool, and it would make me want to see them. But other than that, it's not really. There's no reason to hear it when the other version exists.
Yeah, basically. I think everyone gets into Godspeed listening to the CD version first, because if they decide to go chronologically, because I haven't encountered many people that think the vinyl version is superior.
I think you would have to hear it like as a vinyl
To understand. Yeah.
to like really. Yeah. It was built to be played on that. I think original F sharp was too long to be pressed on vinyl, probably. So they just like made shorter version or something like that. I don't know. It's good
Yeah.
for what it is.
Phallus, what do you think of the vinyl version?
I think the vinyl version for FA Infinity is the second best project.
Oh,
to come out
damn.
of Godspeed Black Emperor. I actually consider it
Oh,
better than
fuck.
the CD version.
Yay!
They both bring their own
Hot
things to the
take.
table, and the CD version is also very, very good. But I really like the vinyl version because, okay, I've heard it a lot of times, both sitting down in my desk, calm, and a couple times while I was shitting my pants inside of an airplane. And very cool.
Very nice.
It was quite different listening to it like that because, as it has been said, it's a very bleak, very atmospheric record, but it really does, like, it's not as meandering and as just like aimless as it seems once you like. Well, maybe this is just my opinion, but I don't really think it's that aimless. It's just very much more atmospheric and less structured. Like, and that's not necessarily bad sometimes. Music can be beautifully structured, and like, for example, in the Slow Riot, that's very, very well structured. And that doesn't mean that it's better or worse than FA vinyl for not being as structured, and I really, really like the way that it builds up on that sound. The first track is absolutely gorgeous. It has, I get what Cringe says now. It has that wave climax, or more of a climax or release, which comes in its I think fourth or fifth movement, Drugs in Tokyo and Dead Flag Blues outro. Then the second one is a bit shorter, like the B side, Bleak, Uncertain, and Beautiful, but it is still very, very pretty, but pretty in pretty in a sad way, and I really, really like it. I really do think that while the CD version is more built upon, it has Providence, which is beautiful in its own way. I think that the conciseness of just the vinyl version is just uncomparable, and I really, really like it. So that's my take.
That's a fair take. Yeah,
Understandable.
I understand it. However, I think it makes more sense when it's structured well, like the CD version. But we'll talk about it right now, actually. So after the vinyl version was released on August 1997, if I'm not mistaken, they would take like not 1 year exactly, approximately 6 months to re-release it in a CD version on June 1998. So they re-released FA Infinity, and this is actually the most accepted version of the album, which is actually longer. It has like different names for the tracks. The Dead Flag Blues is shorter. It adds East Hastings and Providence, and the outro, of course. And I think this is one of their best projects, to be honest. I think this is much better than the vinyl version. They rearranged the Dead Flag Blues. They changed some parts. Drugs in Tokyo is not part of East Hastings, and it's combined with Black Helicopter. My favorite track from the album by far, it's a tie between the Dead Flag Blues, just because the intro is so iconic, and Providence, which is actually like the longer track of this. I think it's 25 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, almost 25 minutes.
29.
29.
29.
If we're including the outro, yeah. Yeah, I like this. It's much more concise. It's much more like you can tell that it's much more arranged. Its length is it's longer because they take the time to arrange the pieces in a way that they make sense instead of feeling like they aim to nothing. But yeah, I mean, I still maintain a lot of things that I say. You can sort of feel the political, much more apocalyptical views of the band. However, you can tell that this is much more depressing, and it actually has proper climaxes at some points. Um, but yeah, I mean, I feel the CD version is one of their best projects. Honestly, like it deserves the praise it gets, because I think the band did a great job expanding upon the previous work, making it much more concise, making it much more, fleshing it out in a way that it makes much more sense, that it feels much more hard hitting, to put it in a way. And yeah, this is actually kind of a depressing and haunting album, to put it in a way. I I think everyone can agree that the samples of the voices are among some of the most iconic in all music, at least in all popular music. Especially the intro of the Dead Flag Blues and Providence's first like phrases of God and shit. But yeah, I mean, I feel this is a particularly great project, to be honest. So we're gonna go now with Gary. Gary, what do you think about the CD version of FA Infinity?
It's very much one of those, like, there are a lot of albums that I like because they evoke a certain atmosphere, rather than like, oh, it's just something you can listen to a song from. Like, I never really listened to a song from this. It's always like, I'm gonna put on this album because it evokes a certain mood. And I like every part of the album. First of all, like, the album cover was one of my favorite album covers ever. It's really,
Yes.
it's really atmospheric and cool and beautiful. And it's way better than the cover on the vinyl version.
Yeah.
Like, the red on the sides. The CD.
I agree on
cover
that.
On the CD version is much more
Beautiful, dark, twisted, fancy looking ass.
aesthetically pleasing. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Kind of. the musically, like it's dark, it's post-apocalyptic, it's depressing, it's the vocal samples. My favorite vocal sample is the one right at the beginning of the album, like the car's on fire, there's no driver at the wheel. It's one of those things where it's almost become iconic in like the whatever, like rate your music community. That kind of phrase has turned into a meme. I mean, maybe not to the extent of Sleep on their next album, but they don't sleep on the beach anymore. But the use of those vocal samples has become something iconic among fans of the band, which is really cool, and it's in and of itself thematic and atmospheric in a really cool way. So yeah, this is probably my favorite. Like I'm only going to be talking about this because I haven't heard their entire discography yet. I can't talk today. I'm sure I will, but at some point. But I just haven't really committed to it yet. I've heard this and Lift Your Skinny Fists. I think I kind of prefer this, if not by a little bit. Yeah, that's my piece on F sharp, A sharp.
That's nice. Hurley, what do you think of the CD version?
I don't want to stand it too much because this is my favorite band of all time. So a lot of preparation has, came as a result of it. The Dead Flag Blues in East Hastings, is one of the greatest songs of all time. The way that the album opens is astonishing and beautiful, and slow-moving trains is like scary and nightmarish. The cowboy is, tear-jerking, of course, and yeah, the way that song closes is amazing. East Hastings, amazing anti-climax. I'll give that. Great, amazing stuff. And the whole album could be 10 if it wasn't for the fact that Providence has an awkward flow to it.
You think? I wouldn't say.
Yeah, I feel like it flows. I feel like it kind of flows. I feel like it kind of flows awkwardly. Like, yes, sure, the stuff on there is absolutely amazing. Like the drone near the end is like haunting and dreadful in a good way. By the way, I'm not saying it in a bad way, but I feel like if you either remove that or you corrected it in like an order way to make it flow better, then absolutely 100% a 10, no doubt.
Well, it's a secret track. Like
it's sort of it is a secret track. But I feel like secret tracks, they are a part of the album, no matter what. And
I wouldn't say that.
What do you? You talking about a specific movement or about the entire?
He's talking about track? The 4 or 3 minute ambient section. That's like
the outro.
No.
You're not. Wait.
Sorry. The whole song itself has an awkward flow. My apologies.
It's half an hour, so it's understandable that it's like it has a big weight.
Yeah, it just it doesn't really close off that amazingly, but it doesn't matter because I have the first two songs.
I mean, I think the ending goes well with what the album tries to portray and feeling. To be honest, like it ends up so dark, to put it in a way. Like it is no shiny or incredibly particularly incredible climax with the instruments going berserk or something. No, it's a calm, kind of dark, like really dark ending, and I kind of like it for that. I think Providence flows well. I wouldn't say it. I say at times it could have been better, to put it in a way, but I like it for what it is. It's honestly one of my favorite Godspeed tracks. But yeah, I get your points. I get what you're saying. Yeah. To me, the album is not a 10 because mainly for the midsection for East Hastings, I think it could have been much better. But I don't hate it. I love it so much, but I think it could have been a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, I still think the album is wonderful. I still think it's actually one of their best projects. And yeah, I absolutely adore this. So, Gabe, what do you think of the city version of FA Infinity? Gabe, Gabe,
Escape there.
Gabe died.
Gabe.
Gabriel. Gabriel.
I think
Oh, I
he's
think
dead.
you just skip him for now. I think he might be in a loading screen.
Hey, okay, Soup, what do you think of the city version of FA Infinity?
Okay. Yeah, this is like yeah.
I agree.
Jesus fucking Christ.
So yeah, for me, this is the way the album should always have been. It's just it works so much better as like first a longer piece and second as kind of like three separate tracks. You know, each of these like very different. I don't really know how to word it. It's just kind of like moods. Okay.
The movements. The movements.
Okay. But
Well, they
Yeah.
sort of are
So, yeah.
movements.
no, I'm just looking at the GIF and all right.
I'm sorry.
Okay. But, yeah, it's just a really beautiful, dark, just great album. And again, probably the most iconic opening across any post-rock album. It just kicks off the album so beautifully. It's just
I agree.
it's just fucking great, yeah. And yeah, I do have the same complaints towards the third part. It does feel like really awkwardly because like it's almost like it kind of fades out and then like fades back in. It feels weird. It's just
No, I forgot to mention. I think that part is like really kick ass. So like I couldn't care if it ended like that.
well, yeah, but it's yeah. It's kind of really third track is a little shakier. Overall, really, really great dark stuff. Just yeah, I'm probably gonna do a few more notes about it in relation to lift your skinny fists and kind of my interpretation of that later. But yeah,
I get your point. I still don't kind of understand where Providence feels awkward and pace, but I need to re-listen to it.
this is
Go ahead.
I wasn't gonna say it. I was just making noise.
So, Sweat, what do you
You'd be
think
like
of the
that.
city version of FA Infinity?
I think that the CD version takes all the interesting soundscapes from the vinyl version and spreads them out and makes a more cohesive whole. I would say that the flow of not just Providence, but I'd say that's where the album falters entirely. But I think that's only because we have to compare them to the very structured and kind of like I wouldn't say more accessible, but very orderly and efficient albums that would come after. Like all of Godspeed's music post this, it's like very structured in a way that this is the section and this is the other section, and like when they perform it live, it's to a T, at least 90s material. But yeah, I think the way it's like trying to portray a world, and I feel like the different tracks and the silence between those tracks is like good at that. Even like when people were talking about the flow of the last track, I think that's a thing that happens for the rest of the album. It's not a single song really in the same way that a lot of their other music is. It's their best album, and I feel like that's because the atmosphere that this one evokes is far more captivating and consistent than any of their other records, and also more interesting. Like musically, they do a lot more on here than they would ever do ever again. It's like there's some like the sample, like the "Where Are You Going" bit in Providence. That thing is like amazing. That's such a haunting soundscape, and there's also like
Definitely.
of course, there's the opening intro, which is amazing, and like I can't think of a better way that you could like introduce this musical world than that fucking haunting intro. And it's iconic, really. Like I'd say that's the highlight of their entire career. It's like what they stand for is like entirely conceived within that first introduction to Dead Flag. And yeah, I think it's a really great album.
I agree. Um. So.
You try and select friends.
So, Phallus, what do you think of the CD version?
Well, I think the CD version is incredible. I think it's really, really good. I really enjoyed it the times I've heard it, and unlike most of people here, I actually think that Providence is an incredible track. And like, I think that both the Dead Flag Blues and East Hastings are inferior to their way in the vinyl, but
Oh,
Providence, I really, really, really like the way Providence is built. Like,
Me
it's
too.
very atmospheric. It's very empty. It has a very empty sound. It sounds miserable, and I really like that.
I agree with
true.
that.
That's another
Exactly.
thing I think that song
The
does well.
sampling is really good at being miserable. It has a nut job libertarian, Blaze Bailey Finnegan III, which would come later on in their best work so far, their EP. But the thing is, my favorite part in the entirety of FA Infinity CD version is the movement string loop manufactured during downpour, which is just the repetition of the phrase "Where are you going?"
Yeah.
over and over and over before
Yeah, I
three
love
minutes
that
of
part.
silence. Before 3 minutes of silence and an outro. I think
Vaporwave.
that like specific section, those three things are concisely what makes FA Infinity so great. And I think that while it is not better than the vinyl to my eyes, that difference is very slim. It is a very, very, very good rearranging of the original FA Infinity and is up to standard for Godspeed.
I agree.
I really, really like it, and I would say it's my third favorite release so
To
far.
me,
I think.
it's
But
it's my
just
second.
incredible.
It's my
I
second
really
favorite
like it.
release
I really
from
like
them.
it.
Big.
It's
my-
empty. It's empty. It's bleak. It's depressing, and it's just great. It's really atmospheric. too.
It's my third favorite. God, sorry,
You know
yeah,
why
my
there's,
first
like,
favorite.
during, like,
Yeah,
the-
I actually agree with a lot of things you said about Providence because, as I said, it's my favorite track. It really is the most concise one on the album to me. I still can't see why it's not like the other two. But hey, I mean, I still think the atmosphere in the track is outstanding, to put it away. Um, so I think we can all agree that this is at least one incredible project, to put it away.
Yes,
No, it's not.
100%.
Okay, so Gabe, what do you
100%.
think about FA Infinity if you're back? Yes.
Okay, can you guys
Yes.
hear me now?
Go ahead.
Yes,
Yes,
we can
sir.
hear you.
Okay, thank God. So basically, I think this is at the moment. I think this is probably my second favorite release from them. So I have this at the 4.5, but I listened to it I think once or twice a few months back. So you got to bear with me. I'm kind of pulling from memory. The two things I can tell you for sure is that the Dead Flag Blues is one of my favorite things that Godspeed has ever done. The intro to that track, as it's been mentioned quite a few times at this point, is phenomenal, and it's definitely one of the best ways to open an album I think I've ever heard. Definitely sets a tone, and I think if I were to put together a list of, I guess, tracks that kind of define the apocalypse, that would be number one. Regarding the rest of the album, I actually think that Providence is the second best song here. I actually prefer it. I think if I ranked them, it would be Dead Flag Blues, Providence, and East Hastings. But I do have to mention that every track on here is fantastic. I think if I spent more time with this album, I could really, really, really grow a personal appreciation for it. But at the moment, I can just really appreciate what it's worth and the kind of music that it has on it. There's nothing really too immense there. But the reason why I say that is because you'll see that kind of shortly in the next couple of releases. But what I mean by that. But yeah, I think it's brilliant. I think it's a perfect way for them to open their discography. Technically, they did the vinyl version first. I haven't heard that yet, so I guess maybe that's not the best terminology to use here. I guess for most people, since I know most people probably have not heard the vinyl version over the CD. But yeah, I think it's fantastic, and it's one of their best works that I've heard so far. It's pretty great.
I agree. Yeah. Yes.
All right.
I feel like, again, comparing the vinyl version and the CD version, they're very not different, really.
Okay.
All that the vinyl version really does is it gets rid of Providence, and like East Hastings has a slightly different ending.
Okay.
That's really all it does. It keeps most of the original musical motifs that are in the CD. I believe the "Where Are You Going" part is in there too. Am I correct on that?
I don't remember the "Where Are You Going" part being on FA Infinity, the vinyl. No, yeah, it is. Sorry, it is.
It is? Okay.
It's differently structured. Like, it's not the same, and I actually like how it sounds
Also,
a lot better.
I forgot to
on
mention
the
the vinyl version also has the locked groove, which is
Yes.
where the whole title comes from. We didn't really mention that.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I believe I don't know. It's just a YouTube comment, so it could be completely fucking wrong. But it's
No, it doesn't.
starts in the key of F and ends in the key of A, and it's infinity, so it's like the loop locked groove.
No, yeah.
I saw it on a
definitely why
YouTube
they got
comment,
the
so
name.
I'm not sure. That's the best.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it could be wrong, but it sounded right.
Yeah.
and that's cool, and it's a cool album.
So after this, they would release a split project called Amazon with a band I think almost no one here has heard of called Fly Pan Am. That would release. This was released in 1998. The Fly Pan Am would release their debut album in 1999. Alongside Godspeed releasing their new EP in 1999 called Low Ride for New Zero Canada. Has anyone here heard Amazon? Amazon, I don't know how to pronounce it.
I can't say I have.
No,
So it's a split, and the only thing worth it from here is the Godspeed U section. It has a track called Sunshine Plus Gasoline that's 5 minutes long, and yeah, it's just 5 minutes long, but it's. I
Is this
think
on
so.
YouTube?
Yeah, I
The
think so.
split?
If I'm not mistaken, I
Okay.
can link it to you if you want. But
I see Stereolab in the cover. Is that just like is this the album cover? It says like it doesn't say the other band. I don't know what the album cover is. It might just
the song
Seems like
is
serious
on YouTube.
cover.
The Sunshine Plus Gasoline. So I'm gonna hook it there. So there it is.
okay, cool.
That's the fucking song. So after this, the Godspeed, as I said, would release in 1999. Their following EP called Slow Riot for New Zero Canada. So I think this is an almost perfect album. EP, to put it in a way.
EP.
I think we can all agree that both songs on here are amazing. Particularly
Yes.
BBF3. I don't know how to pronounce.
Lace
However,
Baby Finnegan the Third.
Moya is one of the best openings on any EP I have ever listened.
100%.
But yeah, I think the second track is devastating. It's emotionally just dense, and this actually was the first EP for which I knew the band from. I discovered the band going through a blogspot, and I stumbled upon Slow Rider for New Zero Canada EP to download. And I think this is, to put it, I don't know if anyone, I think someone mentioned it, that this is kind of an improvement on the formula of FA Infinity. It's more chamber music with field recordings and a spoken word upon it, but it flows better than I can say any of the tracks did on FA Infinity. I think it's a fantastic EP. It's not my favorite. It's close to being my favorite. But yeah, I think Moya and the second song are fucking amazing. It's just 28 minutes of. My only complaint would be that I would have preferred if these two were combined into one single flowing song to put us. We were discussing this
Fair enough.
earlier. S-
I respectfully disagree. But
Sweat,
I'll talk about it later.
Sweat
Yeah, I did a little
mentioned
bit as
that
well.
they when they perform this live, they do the two songs together. I didn't know that actually.
I'm pretty sure the two performances I watched, they just played the EP. It's like a recent thing.
So yeah, I mean, I think
But yeah.
that if the two songs would have been mashed together into one giant long song, like one single song, it would have been much better. To be honest, I think that's
Actually,
I don't. How does
I-
that really make a difference, though? It's still
I actually
because
flowing.
I don't think both songs flow that well. I think the transition, personally, that's something picky for me. I don't think it flows that well. I need to re-listen to it once again. I don't know how many times I have heard this thing. I think both songs are fantastic. I think both, and I agree. It's one of the best projects by the band. It's not their best, but it's outstanding how they did this. Basically, this could have been easily an album release. 28 minutes is long enough to be an album release. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a fantastic EP and a fantastic project. I think it should be experienced. The instrumental sections here are amazing. The spoken word sessions are just haunting, and the second song is just fucking. I wouldn't say depressing, but yes, melancholic and kind of pessimistic in a way. It's a really dense EP that I don't think it's an easy listen, to put it away. I think it's not easy in the sense that it can haunt you in a way. I love the atmosphere the both of these songs provide.
I'm terribly sorry to interrupt, but I just remembered something which just stuck to me, which is the reason why it's not a single song,
Uh-huh.
which you have been mentioning, which is it was originally
Uh-huh.
released on vinyl. I own the vinyl, and the reason why it is because if it was a single song, first of all, it would not fit on one side, and the second, this vinyl release is very peculiar because one side is played on 33 rotations, per minute, and
45,
the other
yeah.
side is 45. Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure it's due to those two things, it being on vinyl and not CD. It was released on CD like a month after it was released on vinyl. So I think it was due to that, because if it was just a single song, it would be pretty awkward to have it on vinyl. I'm pretty sure that's why it's in two. And
I'm pretty
like-
sure.
I actually agree.
I'm not sure.
That's weird. I don't know. Is that even possible for like you have to play two different sides?
Yeah,
of the
you
vinyl
have.
at
Yeah,
different
it's
speeds?
possible.
yes, I
It happens.
I can
It
tell
happens
you
on
the
many
picture right
vinyls.
now.
It happens
I
on
swear to
the
God.
Good Morning, Good Night vinyl by.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know why they would need to do that.
Yeah, right here it says in big white letters 45 RPM, and the other
Send a
side
picture of
50
their
RPM.
big boy.
Because one
I guess-
song is
I
I'll
would
go
love to
gladly.
have any single Godspeed release
I
on
managed to snag
just
it on my local
on physical. I would fucking kill for one, to be honest. But yeah, nah, don't worry. Nah, I can. I'm not sure if the vinyl came before. You may be right, because yeah, you may be right.
Yes, I just checked
Okay,
this.
so it was my bad, but with the possibilities CD form provides, I think they could have done what they did for FA Infinity, making one big song and maybe kind of expand in a way. But I respect what the others did. It's still one fantastic EP. So yeah, I mean, I didn't know that, but I knew that they were played on two different rhythms. One was 45. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you told me before, but yeah, I mean, Gary, what do you think of Slow Riot?
Oh, I barely remember it. I'm sorry. I don't really.
Oh,
Hurley, what do you remember from Slow Riot? What do you think about it?
This is my second favorite Godspeed release. It's a 10 out of 10 EP without a doubt.
Numbers.
No,
Oh, what a beautiful packaging!
Well,
I
yeah.
love the cover. I love how, yeah.
yeah, it looks.
I do too.
Oh,
Yeah,
I want
exactly.
that so badly.
Mine.
That's
Damn,
really clean.
What do you mean it looks like shit? What do you mean it looks like shit?
talking
How
mad
could
shit.
you? How could you say?
Yeah, now that I think about it, the fucking the font, really doesn't look
On the vinyl itself, yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the font,
But like that's what I meant. 40.
looks like shit. Looks like shit.
Graphic
actual-
design is my passion. Continue, Hurley. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Also, yeah. All good. So the way that the album opens, so the EP, I keep calling it an album, which it kind of is. Moya, it's a beautiful atmospheric track that has these amazingly recorded strings that give you an idea on what you're going to be experiencing. Yeah, and the climax. Well, is it really a climax?
Yes, it is. A
Yes.
Sort of
climax.
is. But the
It's,
consent.
it's the climax, 100%.
Yeah. The climax that near the end of the track is like fucking amazing, and sorry, I'm fangirling a little bit, and that's not even the best song. BAF3, I don't remember what it's
Blaze
actually
Bailey
called.
Finnegan the third.
BBF.
Yeah, I'm a fake Godspeed fan, but yeah, and it's also oh my fucking god, what a song! And the way that the spoken word is put in with like a guy that is bought out over a fake speeding ticket. Normally it would be kind of stupid to put that on, but somehow it works so well, and I can't figure out a reason why it works. It just does. And when the EP, well, the whole song itself, it seems like it's preparing for a climax, and when it finally does, it's just jaw dropping, and it almost puts you to tears. Like, it's put me in tears like a number of times because of how amazing and beautiful it really is, and because of that, it's the greatest EP that has ever been released, and it's my second favorite Godspeed release, without a doubt. And yeah, it's
perfect.
jaw-dropping, perfect.
It's great.
Absolutely perfect.
I can say it's great. I jump back and forth with this. Sometimes I think it's perfect, but most of the times I think it could have flown better. But that's my picky thing. I still think it's fantastic.
Flow better? What do you mean?
What
do you mean it could flow
It
better?
is the best solo
No,
release
I
by
can
Godspeed
I can
Yeah,
say
well, yes.
Blow my balls.
I can say that I can say that I can still agree that it's a great AP. So Gabe, what do you think about Slow Riot?
So I think Slow Riot is great, of course. I think it's a great EP. I've re-listened to it quite a few times, and I say that because I don't really see how this is like a perfect EP for so many people.
It is.
Oh my God.
I don't see it. I don't see it. I think I guess I need to get this out off.
Go ahead, get it out,
Right
get
now.
it
I
out.
think it's great. I have no real qualms with it, and I think it's a pretty solid EP. I just don't. I don't know. For me, it's very. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, because I just listened to it earlier, but in preparation for this, just in the event that it finally like clicked. It hasn't, but I think the word I'm looking for is that it's
Disjointed?
just kind of. I don't know. It's not disjointed. It's
Slow?
It's I guess it's just
Typical.
typical. You know.
Typical?
I don't really see-
What's typical?
I'm gonna spank you.
No, I kind of get where you're coming from.
Typical.
Here. Like,
I don't really think it's this huge outlier in
I
Godspeed's discography. And
I
don't-
get you really because in a way, sorry to interrupt, but yeah,
No, you're fine.
I honestly kind of see where you're coming from because I talk too much here. But the fucking
good.
it's like it's in terms of where they were, it's like definitely the most accessible thing they made in the 90s.
Mhm.
Like it's
I
a
mean-
very structured and normal song. Like it's
Yeah,
built up
thank you. That's what I want. I get that it's normal.
Yeah.
I guess it's just when I think of
post
okay,
rock.
I just want, when I say that, it makes me sound like I think it's bad. I don't think it's bad, but it's just from
No.
Godspeed. From all the praises that I hear from it, I guess I just kind of expect something a little bit more unique. It reminds me a lot of their two biggest albums, of FA Infinity and of Skinny Fists. Not
Because
necessarily
it's a
Skinny Fists, but-
transition between those two.
Yes,
Of
I
course
know
it's gonna
that.
remind you of them.
I know that. Shut up. I guess it's just I don't know. It's the number one EP on RYM. So I guess when I saw that, I was just like, okay, I'm really about to sit down for some fantastic shit. And don't get me wrong.
I mean, we discussed this on previous podcast that I'm gonna upload the three at once. We discussed that we don't have to trust the overall EP because I have a lot of things to say about a top
Yeah,
EPs of all time. I don't think it's the top. I don't think it's the best EP of all time, not by far. But
Oh, yes.
I wouldn't say so. Yeah, I wouldn't.
but it is great. It's a great project by the band. I can say that. Yeah, and
That's something I want to say that. It's just I don't think it's bad by any means. I don't even think it's just kind of good. It's a great.
however,
I in fact I think it's actually kind of growing on me a lot more now that I've re-listened to it today, and I really paid attention to the climax of BBF3, which is just fantastic. I think if there was any way for them to end off the EP, that's probably the best way for them to do it. And I will say that I think that BBF3 is probably, BBF3. I cannot fucking think right now. I think that's definitely the best track on the EP out of the two, of course. I just think that's probably the best. I don't know what the word is. I guess you could kind of say it's the best sequenced. I don't know. Moya is great. I think it's definitely more of a build-up thing though that kind of pays off into BBF3, which is why I'm kind of confused as to why Cringe said that he is. Is it Cringe who said
I
he doesn't
don't.
think it
I
flows very
personally
well or
think
something like
I
that?
personally think it doesn't flow that well.
I think it flows pretty well actually. I don't personally see that. In fact, I didn't actually notice until I checked that the tracks had changed. So that's even better. I think it definitely works as a cohesive unit, like you mentioned. It should be presented as one. Okay, I'm pretty sure it's you that said it should be presented as one song. And then Sweat mentioned they played it live as one song. I definitely think that it works that way on the EP itself. Yeah, I don't see
As I said, I think it's kind of picky for me. It's a thing that annoys me personally. I don't see anyone else commenting on it. But yeah, I mean, I get your point, and it's okay to think that this is not the best EP of all time. I don't think it's the best EP of all time. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's great. It's a fantastic release. I don't really think that at this point Godspeed has done much wrong, and I wouldn't say it's perfect at all. Of course, I just think it's great, and I think it's a solid EP. But I don't really get the full hype for it. You know, that's really all
I don't.
hype about it.
Okay, so we don't have to trust. First of all, let me the top EPs of all time. I mean, fucking Space Oddity from David Bowie is there, and that's not really a proper EP to put it away. But I'm not gonna get into that. So after Gabe, what are your opinions, Soup, on Slow Riot? What do you think of Slow Riot?
It is good.
Facts. He's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
I
That's for
agree.
sure.
I think I'm gonna
Oh
say more.
damn. Yeah. Okay, so what do you think of Slow Riot?
Yeah, this is pretty good. I mean, the second track is really where it all gets good. I think the climax of Moya, Mia, Maya is kind of it's kind of mixed kind of weirdly. I don't know. It doesn't really hit. It's got a nice groove. I think it's a good groove. I just feel like the way the strings sound is really soupy and kind of this. If you isolate this track and you release it by an unknown post rock band in like 2008 or something, I wouldn't be able to tell it was really a Godspeed song. I think it's the most basic thing they would release until Yankee, and I feel like that's where I can kind of see what Gabe's coming from here. Also, the echo is
Phallus.
very much back.
Phallus.
Beating up somebody. Oh shit.
No, I'm not. I just chopped drumsticks because of.
Okay. Yeah. The
No,
am
not
I
anymore.
echoing, or is that-
Continue.
No, you're not.
Okay. Yeah, but I do want to say that Moya, while being a good song, then you get into BBF3, F4,
BBF3.
BBF3. I think this song is like, I feel like it's the perfect ideal of what you would want a Godspeed song to be. I used to think East Hastings was their best song. I do not share that opinion anymore because that song isn't as fully conceived as this one is. Because this song, the way every section complements each other, it's like this is going to be such a stupid comparison, but it's like the epitome of a string in music. It's like a perfect pop song would be like. When I think of it's like the climax here is delivered in the perfect way. The vocal samples is perfect. It's just like everything about this they got right. Like I can't think of any way that you can make a Godspeed song any better than this, and neither could the million other copycat bands that came after them. Yeah, and that's all I have to say. The vocal sampling is very good.
I can agree with a lot of points. So yeah, Phallus, what do you think? You're the fucking stan of this record. Go ahead.
All right, so I got the record in my hands right now, and I got one thing to say about this, which is FA Infinity is their darkest record. Lift Your Skinny Fist is their most epic record, but Slow Riot is their most political record. It's epic too, not to the length of Lift Your Skinny Fist, but it's very, very political. And if you turn over the vinyl, on the backside, it literally has a recipe for a cocktail Molotov. It's really creative, actually. I really like that of the packaging, and I think that really just displays and has the same energy as the entire album. I consider Slow Riot to be the sun between Lift Your Skinny Fist and FA Infinity, obviously because it's a transition between those two. Moya was at that time their only fully instrumental track with no vocal sound, because all the songs on both vinyl and CD versions of FA had vocal samples. They had never done something without a human voice, and these almost 11 minutes are instrumental perfection to my ear. They are the best build-up and a crash of any Godspeed You I've heard so far. And I don't get where you are saying that it sounds bad or unoriginal from. I really don't.
I don't think it sounds bad in any way. It's very competent.
I don't think anyone here said it was bad.
Well, unoriginal. You did say it sounded unoriginal.
Okay, unoriginal based on what happened in post-rock afterwards. I don't think at the time it was particularly unoriginal.
Fair enough.
My view of the song is slightly tainted because of what it did kind of for the genre, which is not a very fair criticism, I'll admit, but it's still there for me.
Well, I personally believe it's incredible. I really like the strings. I have the string sequence right now stuck in my head, and just the way that the percussion builds up, and it's just grand. And the way when it slowly dies down, you flip it over, and it's Blaze Bailey Finnegan III, which is one of the best tracks ever released by Godspeed You. I can't say it's the best because I don't think they have a best track, but that's just me being dumb. But it's like it has the best vocal sample in my opinion of any Godspeed You release so far. They literally grabbed. We can talk about that later. They literally just grabbed a crazed libertarian of the streets, pissed him off, and once he was pissed off, asked him to say his views, which ended up just being incoherent rambling, which is eventually just drowned out by the instrumental. And it just builds upon, and it's not the same as Moya. It's quite different, actually. The way that it builds up, explodes, crashes, it's just completely beautiful. It's the most gorgeous release by Godspeed You, and I actually consider that both Moya and Blaze Bailey Finnegan III are tried to be it sets up what they then do in Lift Your Skinny Fists, but I feel that in Lift Your Skinny Fists they don't manage to achieve it as good as they do in Slow Riot. I genuinely do believe it is the best release made from the band. It is the most concise release, being 28 minutes instead of an hour and 27. It is most definitely the shortest, obviously, 2 tracks, and it's just perfection. I really can't say it's anything else but that. It has the most succinct cover. It has the most succinct track. It doesn't even. It's not even like FA Infinity and Live Your Skinny Fists are separated into individual movements. Slow Riot doesn't have any of that. It's just the singular track which evolves and crashes and just goes inside of itself and outside. It's just I can't even begin to describe with words how truly gorgeous this EP is.
Okay, so okay, so
I can't. I just can't.
I need to say this, and this is gonna link with my views much later. If we're gonna put all the projects from Godspeed, I think we should, because to me this counts as an album. If we're gonna put all the projects into one bundle and kind of say which one I think Luciferian Towers is better than this. I think Luciferian Towers is better than this.
He's having a fucking seizure in the background.
Dude, I knew Phallus was gonna freak out at that one, bro.
I haven't heard it, but
No, to me it's not very much.
I don't. Okay, you're gonna have to explain the comparison here. Like, I don't really get why illustrating
Because
this is really.
to me,
Not to sound disrespectful, but what's
to me, Luciferian Towers has a much more cohesive kind of basis to build itself upon, and it has a much more solid flow on the tracks themselves than what the whole experience of Slow Riot provides to me. And I'm gonna get into that much later because I need to go to each track individually. But as for now, and what we've all talked about, I agree that this still is a wonderful project by the band. I think it shines. I certainly think it's really outstanding. And it certainly deserves all the praise it gets. However, I don't think it's the best of all time.
So what you're saying is that Luciferian Towers does what this is trying
In
to
a
do
way,
better.
yeah.
Is that what you're going?
In
at?
a way.
Does it have Blaze Bailey Finninger the Third listing off every single firearm?
Okay, I'm gonna explain this later.
Why do you
I
bring that
I think
point
I'm
up?
gonna.
That's not the. Oh.
I don't.
Okay,
Okay, I still don't really understand why that's significant.
I'm gonna get
Okay,
to this later.
whatever.
Okay.
Okay.
So
You're
yeah,
gonna
we're
scream
gonna
at me
you're gonna scream at me later. Okay, so after Slow Riot, they would release a bootleg from 1999 called the John Peel Sessions Live.
Damn it.
Have any of you guys heard of the John Peel Sessions Live?
No, I haven't.
What do you think
I
of it?
have.
It's 18 minutes. It's literally.
It is. It is a very competent live performance. It adds. It's a new kind of thing that I think fans would like to hear, and I enjoyed it. It was.
It has a
background
section.
music when I was
Any of you guys know about Steve Reich? So they
I've heard
I
of him.
am an
Yeah.
asshole and a fake ambient musician.
So
because I'm not
one
listening.
of the section
Oh wait, no,
one
no,
of
I
the sections of
listened.
the track of John Peel Sessions is a cover of a piece by Steve Reich, and it's actually named in honor of him, to put it in a way. So I still think that I would have loved to see where they would go with this kind of compositions, but they would change drastically in their next album. To me, my favorite project by the band, and I think for many, on 2000, they would release "Lift Your Skinny Fists Like Antennas to
Fart
Heaven."
sounds.
To me,
Fart sounds 1 hour.
to me, this is my favorite project, and this is one. I'm gonna quote Gabe here. This is one of my favorite albums of all time. I think it's a fantastic project. To be honest, it has one of my favorite songs of all time, which is basically the last track, "Antennas to Heaven," and it's much more of a personal relationship that I have with any of this. This album properly introduces climaxes. Like 1 second it's ambient, and then it
Moya?
explodes on your face. I think
Moya
Moya
did
doesn't
that,
compare
though.
to what Antennas to Heaven did with She Dreamt Like She Was a Bulldozer, She Dreamt Like She Was Alone in an Empty Field. I think that part just the last song.
Whenever I hear Moya, I think of the Goya, like still like a penis on food.
So
I wonder if they took inspiration from that food.
I think this is one of my favorite albums of all time. I think this is one of the most outstanding and unique pieces of music at the time, and until now, to be honest, one of the most essential post rock and chamber, like modern chamber music albums to date. I think that the samples here work much better than the previous albums. I don't say that the previous albums didn't work as well, but they work better in a way. Uh, the samples here don't just limit themselves to quotes. They go as far to sample songs. Um, and even the members singing the songs. Like on Untest to Heaven, you can hear Moya singing Baby O until it transitions to the sound of kids and field recordings.
Well, there's also the singing on East Hastings, I think. During-
Yeah.
Very quiet singing.
Yeah, but here it's
Whoa.
But yeah,
yeah,
but that's
it's
like a
much
real-
better
yeah, I get what
implemented
you're
in
saying.
this, in my opinion. A lot of people say "Sleep" is their favorite song and is one of their favorite. I can see why any of these songs. To me, these are the best four songs of their entire discography. To be honest, I think all sections here flow in one great epic track. The sections here are even individually could work as individual songs, but they work so well in one flowing, well integrated, well composed, beautiful album, to put it away. I love this album to death. I think the cover is my favorite cover by the band. It is one of their most memorable, their most beautiful, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, even if it's just two hands floating, I think this is beautiful. To be honest, the entire experience listening to this entire album, the design. I would love to have this album on physical. I've seen photos of the gatefold online. It's just beautiful. I would love to have this ASAP. To be honest. So Gary, have you listened to "Live Your Skinny Fists"?
Yes. I think it's good. Like
Good.
this is where I kind of have the hot take where, well, I don't think this is. I kind of prefer F sharp for this just because I prefer the mood that it creates. It's kind of, it feels more low. But I think this is, and I think it's a very impressive album. I think it's very well done, well produced. It's obviously like an impressive whatever achievement for the band because of its scope. It's huge, it's long, but I mean it's huge not only in length, like the sound of the album is huge as well, and the amount of stuff that's in there and shapes it takes and movements. And I think it's all good, and I don't have any problems with it. Like, but this is where I kind of get to have the take where Godspeed is like the epitome of a band that's kind of like, I think they're good, I think they're cool, but most of the time they're just kind of there for me. Like I don't get as excited about their instrumental stuff as a lot of people do. I don't know why. I don't know why it's I think it's nice to have on in the background. I remember the times I've listened to this album in full. It's been like, yeah, this is nice. This is making me kind of sleepy. And there's certainly like sections of it where I'm like, whoa, this is really cool. Particularly when they use vocal samples, like samples of people talking about things, like the iconic "They Don't Sleep on the Beach Anymore" from Sleep. And I actually have it at a pretty high rating because of that. Because I'm like, yeah, this is well done. This is good music. I don't have any problems with this. This is very impressive. It's just not. It's not as exciting to me, I guess, as it seems to be to a lot of you guys and a lot of fans of music. I don't know. That's just my take of the band. But I mean, certainly this is objectively, even if you don't like it, I mean, it's very influential for post rock and for better or for worse. I mean, that's probably an argument that we're gonna have later. But yeah, that's my piece on this. I have it in 8 out of 10.
That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't met a single person that hates this album. Probably like they gave it even a 5. I know that people that respect
you?
it. You do?
Quite a few
Oh,
people
nice.
who don't really care.
The only person that I know that doesn't like it is a dude that I played Storm while he was high off his balls. and he almost broke down. He was like, "Dude, turn it off, please, turn it off." And he hates it because that's the only time he experienced it, and almost
this seems
fucking
like a
died.
band
Yeah,
doing
exactly.
more whilst under the
I don't fucking know. He was high, and I was like, "Dude, do you want me to blow your mind?" "Yeah, do it, bro." I just played Storm, and he started panicking at like 8 minutes in. It was hilarious. but
Why
I
would you
felt
play with
bad.
Stone Person and Storm? To be honest. Uh,
I don't know. I would like it. I think.
okay, so Hurley, what is your take on this album?
Oh boy. So not only this is my favorite Godspeed album, not only it has my favorite all-time song, but it's my all-time favorite album. Without a doubt. Like no other album gets to this level of, well, a few, but like none of it. Throughout my life, it has changed the way it's changed my life. It has brought me ease at certain periods of my life. So bit of a background story. Sorry, but I heard this album once, and this was during a period where I would rate anything I heard on first listen. So I immediately gave it a 10, and I just left it sitting there. Didn't remember it. Well, I only remembered Storm, but that's about it. So I was re-listening to a bunch of 10s that I didn't think would matter anymore. And the more I had listened to this, the more that it started to click with me, the more it sat with me. And over time, it has emotionally connected with me as I listened to it more. And it climbed, and over time, it replaced To Be Kind as my all-time favorite album. And yeah, it's helped me through depressing times of my life. And yeah, let me just talk about the tracks now. The way that Storm opens, it's like one of the greatest ways you can open an album. It gives me a sense of joy and happiness. And also, not to mention, the way that it also closes is tear-jerking.
Hell yeah.
Tear-jerkingly. Yeah. And it's also one of my favorite songs of all time. Static is my least favorite song, but it doesn't matter because every single song that you can on this album is in my top 50 of all-time songs. The way that it climaxes on one section, what's it called? World Friendly and Police Helicopter, something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. The way that it climaxes on that song is like fucking incredible. And I'm not over-exaggerating. It is absolutely brilliant that it does that. And yeah, and that Static is gorgeous, drop dead amazing. Sleep, that's my all-time favorite song. Like it's my all-time favorite song. And the way that it opens with a skit from an old man that used to lie on a beach that they don't sleep on the beach anymore, it's always stuck with me. That skit at the start, it's always like connected with me in some way. I can't explain why, but it always has. And Moham, am I pronouncing it right? Moham? Or not? Yeah. The way that it gradually builds, and then that drum roll and the guitar manipulation is like, fucking man, it's just man. So
It's really great. I understand. I honestly understand the emotion you. When the first time I listened to this, I was shocked by Antennas to Heaven, because the individual as I said, the individual sections here could stand as standalone songs, honestly. and I actually was surprised for the use of guitars in some tracks. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I understand the love for this album, and I understand what you mean, man. Yeah, it really is a fantastic album.
And yeah, and after the and it feels like that this section is gonna build to something more climatic and explosive, but it never does, and it fades out. And I love how it does that. I love how it blue balls you to the end. Nice. I love how it
It's a medical issue, okay?
yeah, all good.
I put
And,
my
yeah.
fingers in the air sometimes.
I love how it does that. And it quiets it out in a dynamic way. And then then the next section goes on. What's it called?
Broken Windows,
Broken
Locks of
something.
Love.
But-
Yeah.
Yeah, Broken Windows, yeah. And the way that it builds up again into like a shoegazy atmosphere is just as amazing as Moham. If not possibly even better, but it doesn't matter because both sections of it are like my favorite thing of all time. And yeah, it's emotionally connecting in so many ways. And yeah, I'm done standing my all-time favorite song. Now, the closer, this is one of my favorite closers of all time. And the way that it's long. What's that skit called again?
Oh, she dreamt she was a bulldozer. She dreamt she was alone in an empty field. Yeah, that's my favorite section of the entire album, to be honest.
It's one of my favorite sections. It's one of my favorite sections. And yeah, the way that it explodes and then it just goes into dynamic mode, and then it goes into this like emotional post rock section. It's brilliant and genius. Well, maybe not genius, but like it's brilliance. And then, oh god, the way that it closes too, Death Camp Drone. I can't describe you the amount of emotions that it brings on the table from that one drone. And yeah, it's always brought me to tears whenever I listen to it because of how it ends. Like it's like if it was separated into a track, Def Camp Drone, if it was put into one track, it would be in my top 5 favorite songs of all time. And
it's really good.
Fuck, man.
I understand that.
And that's that's the whole album for me. The way that it takes me into different dimensions in like a mental way is undescribable. And the way that it's given me hope in life. And I apologize if I've standed too much, but that's like how I genuinely feel about it. And I hope you understand where I'm coming from.
I understand, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I get it.
yeah.
I get it.
I understand the love this album gets. Gabe, what do you think of Lift Your Fists?
Yeah.
So lift your
Lift
fists.
your
Lift your fists.
Lift your fist.
Lift Your Skinny Fists is my favorite Godspeed You Black Emperor album at the moment. And it's also, as everyone expected, one of my favorite albums of all time. This is an experience, and I think this is one that just about everyone who considers himself a fan of music needs to check out at some point. This album is a perfect example of sequencing. It is a perfect example of what's the word I'm looking for? I guess just compositional brilliance, I guess is the word I'm looking for, because I've never heard before listening to this album, I had never really heard music like this before. This was my introduction to Godspeed, and I still haven't heard many things like it, even from Godspeed themselves. I personally think my favorite moment on the album is, I don't know what the track name is, but it's the part in Static with the Preacher sample.
That's
I don't know
so
what the
good.
track name is.
Yeah, that is gorgeous. Let me look
Yeah.
it up. Hang on.
Okay.
I'm Preacher Man.
That is my favorite moment on the entire album. It's probably one of my favorite musical moments of all time because it's just so. I know this is like a funny word, but it's just so epic.
It's epic.
in scope and in everything about it. Just
Is it chart free?
I think it is. I
Yeah,
don't know for sure. I think it might be.
Yeah, that I understand that because every single section on it is perfect and just gives you emotions as you sit through it.
It's amazing. I think every track on here is just incredible. Obviously, this album is so consistent all the way through.
Yes,
And I can't really think of much bad to say about this album because I've listened to it quite a few times. I even used it as a few times to go to sleep, and it's a very soothing album for that, honestly. So I would often kind of listen to it, and usually by the end of Storm I was out. But yeah, it's just incredible. And like I said, it's an essential listen. I have a lot of albums that I mark as essential. I do that a lot. I have near essential albums, which are like albums for fans of a genre or of an artist, something like that. Then I have essential albums, which I think are like albums that someone who considers himself a fan of music needs to hear. And then I'll have like some that are just truly essential that everyone needs to hear, like Smile by the Beach Boys. But this is definitely one that I would put under the essential category, 100%. I think if someone is going to consider themselves a fan of music, at some point or another, they need to take the time to check this one out. It's just incredible. And
Hell
it's a
yeah.
necessary listen, I think.
Soup, what do you think of Lift Your Skinny Fists?
Shit.
you okay,
man.
bro?
Okay, so this was one of the first real big essential albums that I listened to. I think it was in like either 7th grade or like the summer between 7th and 8th grade. And this was just really just a mind-blowing album for me. And coming back to it like now, it's fuck. Okay. Yeah, it's just really good. It's just like really beautiful. The opener, just coming in with these I feel like I'm going way into detail, but just like kind of like the first few seconds, like the first few seconds of Storm, just how those horns come in like super gently, and then just kind of slowly building up more and more. It's just great, and then the rest of the rest of Storm is just perfect. Just wow.
Wow.
But yeah. Static and the last track, Antennas to Heaven, they're not as like I don't want to say as like okay. They're still great, but they're not just like they're not
That's hard hitting.
I don't want to say as memorable because they're still really great. Yeah, that's hard hitting.
Okay.
But yeah, they're still great. They're just like I feel like the opener and Sleep just outshadow it. Well, they're all great, but it's just like a little better.
I get what you mean, man. Don't worry.
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
and
I
as
wouldn't.
always, like
No, go ahead.
oh yeah, you can talk.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting. I wouldn't say that one song overshadows everything because it's impossible for me to say that because of how every other song connects and works with each other and flows incredibly well. So I kind of disagree on the overshadowing part, but I don't want to like scream at you for disagreeing with me on this album because I understand where you're coming from. Because yeah, I personally disagree with it, but it's understandable.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. But as I was saying, like with the I was gonna kind of come back to F sharp, A sharp. I was listening to it this morning, just kind of like another re-listen, just get it fresh in my brain. And what I feel like this and F sharp, A sharp are doing very similar things, just very different approaches. I think they're kind of like channeling the ideas of Apocalypse in two very different ways. Like F sharp, A sharp explores kind of this bleak, this depressing feel of it, and Lift Your Skinny Fist kind of like the acceptance of that. And while there are like very dark moments, it's kind of like I kind of got this mood where like, you know, my ancestors fucked up. This is what I deserve, you know. And it's just, again, it's just really fantastic. Just I can't really describe this shit. It's so good.
Yeah.
I'll stop talking. I'll stop rambling.
No,
Don't
it's all good.
Don't
bro.
worry, man.
Okay.
I've rambled more than you.
It's okay,
so-
my boy. Don't feel bad. Sweat. What do you think of Lift Your Skinny Fists?
It's
Don't
pretty
disappoint
cool.
me.
What? What did you?
Don't
Don't
disappoint
disappoint.
me. I said don't disappoint me.
Oh dear. Okay. So this album is god awful. Like on every.
Nice.
I can't even imagine how someone can make music that could sound this shitty. It's just kind of astounding, really. But anyway, yeah. So, yeah, the way it opens, I feel like the first 6 minutes of the record are the best parts of the. That's probably my personal pick for the best moments. It's just such a beautiful melody. I'm
just
like
understandable.
Storm didn't used to be my favorite song, but now it is. I recently took a listen to this album and a lot of their projects recently over the past 2 weeks. I do not like this band as much as I used to, but their vibe of their music really fits with the current vibe of the world at the moment, and I really think
That's totally fair.
this album is it's like I don't know if it's their best. I think F sharp is my favorite, but like this one is it's perfect in its execution for most of it. I don't feel like there's what I was talking about BBF3 in the same way. Like in terms of the post-rock formula that would be developed but after this record, this is basically the best execution of that sound that you can find, really. The way it's such a creative album. Not as I wouldn't as creative as F sharp, because F sharp does a lot of more different things like musically, but it's got like it's all the sections are so beautiful and cool in and of themselves that it's just a really fun listen. It's not it's doesn't overstay its welcome, which is kind of surprising for the record because of how long it is, because it is quite a lengthy album, but every moment is pretty much justified. I don't know, there's some moments that I think where it kind of falters for me is really in the last 2 tracks, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool moments in each, but they don't particularly add up in the same way cohesively. Like I guess not really Sleep, because Sleep's build up is amazing until it ends just kind of suddenly, and then the album coasts, and then the last track comes on, and the last track is just like I'm not a particularly big fan of it. It doesn't kill the record, but it doesn't make it as amazing as I think it could be. Like this particular track is just like there's good parts, but the climaxes are weak in a similar way that I would say for Maya, but not in the exact same way. The again, another problem that I find with the album is that the production takes a noticeable dip in quality compared to their early stuff. At least for me, I think it's more produced, but it's also quite muddy. Like it has, I'd say in terms of all their albums, this one has the most like stuff jammed into it, and you can tell like it's definitely very, very cramped, and the sound of it for like a lot of the climaxes, at least on the last 2 tracks in particular, I don't feel like it. I feel like if it had a more wide open sound, it could function better. But even still, like those are the complaints with it, and like this kind of transcends. This is a kind of a transcendental album because it goes beyond a lot of the genres stuff. Like it makes sense why this record would be copied and deconstructed and analyzed in the future. Even though it really just like it's kind of like a last hurrah of the genre and the band itself too, because they would never be this creative again across any of their records. It's really last hurrah, I'd say. It's and for the genre of post-rock, when you take a look at its infancy and its the way it builds up to this kind of stuff, I think it really is an achievement. Even if I don't particularly dig the last track and the end of this and the end of Sleep, it's a very impressive record that was able to be made and be this good.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like
I get what you mean. I get your points. I get your points. Go ahead.
So for the production part, I've always loved the production of it, and yes, it is. I have seen a number of people criticize the production, saying it's a bit muddy and it doesn't capture the atmosphere. I don't think it's the best produced album. I personally feel that it has an amazing production. Love it. But my favorite produced Godspeed album is possibly Slow Riot because of how open and crisp it is.
I think Slow Riot. If this
I always knew Hurley had a big cock.
Oh, okay.
If this album sounded more like Slow Riot in the way that it's more balanced, I think I would like it a lot.
Yeah, because like
I don't think any of their albums sound. Sorry to interrupt. I don't think any of their albums. That's kind of not really the focus. I don't think any of their albums are stand out for me personally on that aspect of it. I don't think if maybe Yankee, but I don't know. There's a lot of things that distract from that for me. But yeah, that's not really something I go for this band, and that's really. But I respect it. It fits. It's good enough. It's not really. It doesn't stand out particularly for me.
Understandable.
On any of your albums.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm not going to scream you for that. But Live Your Skinny Fist, it always sounds a lot better when you have it like
Yeah.
That's the impression I've always
Me too.
had. Yeah, because I couldn't give a shit less if I listened to it like a low volume, but it gives me a bigger impact emotionally if I have it loud.
That's fair. I listen to all music on a very because I don't want to because I listen to it music like most of the time I'm awake and I don't want to ruin my ears. But that makes sense. If I had a CD of it, I would definitely be blasting.
I have a CD of it, and it sounds a lot greater on CD.
I would imagine it would sound a lot greater on good speakers. Yeah, I feel like I would probably dig it more on good speakers.
It does. I can confirm.
I gotta blast it on my speakers sometime. Yeah, that's like a good idea.
Because I have nearly all of the albums on CD. Let me get them out.
Like Slow Riot sounds orgasmic on speakers, like in my record. So I
100%.
imagine that it got like Live Your Skinny Fist.
Yeah.
Sound.
Yeah, but I understand. And before Hurley shows off his collection, Phallus, what do you think of Live Your Skinny Fists?
Well, while Hurley was speaking, I was actually lubing up my asshole because I know that you're gonna hate me for this take. But think that off of all, like I've only heard. So for reference,
Go on.
I have only heard Live Your Skinny Fist, both FAs, and Slow Riot. But of those four, I think that Live Your Skinny Fist.
I don't know. I mean,
Now-
I would maybe. I can understand that. They're
Yeah,
pretty much
like-
all on the same level.
Yeah, I mean, if I was saying that it's better than Asunder, Sweet, and Other Distress, in that case, then I would get lynched publicly. But that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it's less powerful than the past releases, but it is still really good. It's great. It's gorgeous. It is stunningly gorgeous. I cannot deny that. It has incredible sampling. It is very well made, and I understand why it's as influential as it is. Like, I remember that when I first heard of this album, I was very new to the entire Rim RYM culture, to Mew culture, to like all the to Fantano, like all of these clowns. I had never heard of them until like June last year, and I heard Live Your Skinny Fest July because I knew that it was supposed to be massive. And I remember that I just like stared at, like, I did full screen on Spotify, and I just stared at it while the first half of it ran through, and the second half I just like closed my eyes and leaned back. And it was quite an experience because, as Gabe said, I had never heard something like this before. Because once again, I was not based
Haha.
and red pilled, so I had never gone into post rock. And it's really like
It's a good introduction
it's
to
re-
post-rock.
it's a good introduction to post rock. I cannot say it's not, although like perhaps a little bit lengthy for somebody that would never had tried something like that. But I still think it's really good. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I don't really remember which tracks I like the best. I think of it like as a cohesive piece, I guess, except for like Static. No, I remember Static. Static stands out. Static stands out, but the rest I remember them kind of equally because I've not streamed it as much
Aha.
as most of you. I've only heard the entire project front to back around 3 to 4 times. So I really don't have that much to say. It's the project of them that I know, that I least know, if that makes any sense. But I still really like it, and I plan to listen to it more in the future. It's good. I understand why people say it's one of the best albums.
That's fair.
Yeah,
Yeah. I can also understand
Yeah.
why people think it's boring.
I can see that. Yeah,
I get
I,
it.
I have.
Static,
Yeah, too, yeah.
like some spots in Static can seem a little bit boring,
There
I
is
guess.
there is a user
yeah,
there's a
it can
user
be,
in
but
radio
it's
music called Juno. I don't know. There's Sedwig that says this is one of the most boring albums he has ever listened to. That he has never had a much longer album that gives him nothing, but there is something to it. But yeah, I have met people that said that this is a boring ass album, but I've never met someone that hates it, to put it in a way. But yeah. Either way, I think this is an album, as everyone said, as someone should listen to if they want to get into the music scene, like into just binging albums. But yeah, I think this is a really great album and something everyone should listen to at least once. Um, but yeah, after this project, that would take 2 years, and then they would release their follow up, Yankee UXO.
Stop.
And Yankee UXO is it's a great album for me. But I certainly feel that it kind of falls flat in one side, in one of the tracks, because these are basically tracks divided into two parts with a kind of interlude of 20 minutes. After I think the first part doesn't work as well as Motherfucker Equals Redeemer. But I still think this is a wonderful album. Not as great as their other projects, but I think it's still great. I love Motherfucker Equals Redeemer, both of their parts. My favorite would be part 1, that is 22 minutes, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me check that.
Okay,
first
so
Yeah.
and yeah, the interlude, Rockets Fall and Rockets Falls, it's really great, to be honest. It's also one of my favorite songs by the band. I think it's great. I think it works. However, the first part, I think it could have been better. I have some issues with it. That's basically the part that makes this album not as great as the other ones, to put it in a way. But I still think that it compensates with Rocket Fall and Rocket Falls and Motherfucker Equals Redeemer. But yeah, I wonder. This is basically like if Static became a like a double album in a way. And I've heard a lot of people say that, and I understand that after listening to it. It kind of feels in the same spirit
can't
as Static, just stretched out, and with some great sections. However, the first part is just, to me, properly something that could have been much more than it is. Actually, I think there are reviews on the page of Favorite Music that say that. I'm not sure if it. But yeah, I mean, I love this album to death, and yeah, I think it's great. So Gary, have you listened to Yankee UXO? Uh,
And I have not
Okay.
listened to anything. about
Hurley.
it, so you can stop.
Hurley, go ahead. What do you think of Yankee UXO?
God fucking damn it. I think it's. Of course, I'm a Godspeed stan, so I personally think that this is a near 10. Of course. And similarly, it reminds me of Lift Your Skinny Fists in a way, but not quite on the same level, because there's certain sections of this album that take me to different places in my head. Like, the first 7 minutes of Motherfucker Redeemer Part 1 is absolutely astonishingly gorgeous and brilliant. And not to mention the first track, 91500. Don't want to butcher it. It's perfect. The song is absolute. The way that it builds with this atmospheric percussion and the strings is brilliant, and it I'm rambling along a little bit. When it finally climaxes, it is predictable, but it doesn't matter because the climax itself is pays off really well in a sense. Not to mention, part 2 is emotionally brilliant. Rocket Falls and Rocket Falls, the drone that's near the end is one of the most dreadful, in a good way, by the way, and haunting things that I've ever heard. And yeah, Motherfucker Redeemer, perfect song. And if you're aware that on the final section there's an extra section where there's a chant and a bit of an ambient section on part 2. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Nope. Part 2 is
Part
really
2
good.
is
Yeah.
really good.
Yes. On the vinyl section, there's an extra section thrown into it, and
I didn't know that,
found out
actually.
yesterday, and it's actually a lot better than what I've been listening to the whole time because I feel it gives it an extra part, gives it a more character. Motherfucker Redeemer is one of my favorite Godspeed songs, and I hope you understand what I mean by that. And of course, a lot of people that I've been around say that it's the best produced album because, Steve Albini is a part of it. And yes, the production of it is fantastic. I love it. But it doesn't really sound like a Steve Albini production because the drums are a bit mixed, a bit lowly. And I can understand why it's mixed low because Albini's drums always have a booming and punchy sound to it. The snare just busts the door down, but it's mixed low. And I partly feel like it's because the band has 9 or 7 members, and if the drums were mixed high, it would overshadow what the other members are doing in the mix of it. So I couldn't care about that because the atmosphere of the production and mixing, it is astonishing and it's brilliant. So it's one of the best produced albums that Albini's done. It's not my favorite that he's done, but it's one of the best mixing that he's ever had to do. And that's my take on Yankee. Yankee is my 4th favorite Godspeed album. It's almost a 10, and I consider it perfect, believe it or not. But I can't really give it a 10 because I feel like moving on. But there's something I'm trying to figure out about. I can't give it a 10, and I don't know why. It just doesn't.
I mean, there are some
can't give it a
aspects of
10.
it that just don't work as well as their previous records. I didn't know the vinyl version was long. I didn't know which part was extended. I didn't know it was Motherfucker Equals Redeemer. But yeah, I mean, I get your points. And to me, it's basically that this album had, as I said, it's like static but expanded. And I don't like the first section that much, but I like Motherfucker Equals Redeemer and Rocket Falls on Rocket Falls. But yeah, I understand that. So, Gabe, what is your take on Yankee UXO?
Give me a
Okay.
second. Hold on.
Soup, what is your take on Yankee UXO?
Yeah, I kind of have similar complaints towards this album. Yeah, it sounds really great. The production is really good. Just I think it's really well. It has really well done. Like really great sound design. That's what I'm trying to say. It's just really, really well put together. I don't remember much of what happens on it, honestly. I listened to it earlier today. This is like, I think second or third time I listened to it. It sounds really great at the time, but it's just it doesn't have that many like really iconic moments, you know. It's just I think Sweat was saying earlier that this was a point where like they like were running out of ideas, and after re-listening to it, I can
Yeah.
kind of see that. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't say running out of ideas because they still had ideas and like they executed them really well because
They had one idea, and that idea is the
I-
song throughout the entire album.
Yeah.
because they have like sort of ambient sections. Like you can mostly hear them on the beginning of the first song and like halfway through Motherfucker Redeemer Part 1. And I think it's done executed so well. And I feel like it wouldn't have worked without Steve Albini's addition to it, because I don't know how else they would have executed it. So,
But yeah,
that's what I have to say.
Sweat, what do you think of Yankee? Yeah.
Oh, are we going to me? Okay. Yeah, I'm not particularly a big fan of this record. I think it's definitely the worst of their pre breakup, and it's still marginally better than after it. I don't know. In a lot of the ways, the Godspeed records are just like a decline for me. I don't know. This one, it's serviceable. I think the best thing this album has going for is the production. I think this is the sound that Godspeed needed on Lift Your Skinny Fists and all the other records. Everything sounds great. The mixing is fantastic. It doesn't, again, Hurley pointed out, it does not sound like, if I didn't know that Steve Albini guest, but yeah, he knew what to do with this group in a way that nobody ever did really, which is impressive in a way because, again, this is a very difficult band to mix and produce. It's just like they have so much shit going on and so many quiet and so many loud sections. I have to get that stand out, and I think he does on this particular record wonderfully. The production is amazing. It's such a shame that they finally got the best production they ever had, and they flopped hard with anything musically interesting.
Okay.
They have it's so
Yeah, in a way.
predictable in a way that their other records just aren't.
Well,
Like,
yes.
I don't think it's definitely none of the tracks here are particularly bad. Although the section in Rock Rolls where you got the boom, boom, that kind of, I don't know. That's my least favorite part of the whole record, and it's just and by the end of it, I'm just like I'm listening to the last track, and it's like this massive climax, and I don't feel anything. I don't know what it. I guess it's still technically better than the Imitators that would like try to be Godspeed, but this is just like, I don't know. After they demonstrated on Skinny Fists how to perfectly execute this formula, they just go use the formula and they don't do anything new with it. It's just a by the numbers post-rock record, incredible production, and all the performances again are good. I'd say my favorite track and the one track that like does something different is the continued version of 95, whatever the fucking number first track thing is. That I'm interested to hear the ambient thing because that seems like the one track that I really do think they really did well with. Like that's the only track where I see interesting progressions, something actually going on musically that hadn't been done by them before. It's just I really do wish I liked this record because it has their best album cover, it has their best production, it has
Oh yes, 100%.
it's just it has a lot of things that should be great. It should be amazing, but I just doesn't do it for me. I can listen to it and it's like enjoyable, but it's not. In many moments, it's nothing more than background music.
I understand. I
I
understand.
don't know.
Um,
It's still
I get-
good. It's still Godspeed. It's very clearly a Godspeed album in a way that like this is definitely an album that is made by this band. And it's like this is the type of record you would release. This is only their third album, and it already is like, come on, dude. This is like I don't know. It's still an enjoyable record, and I maybe there's still something I missed. There is honestly, it's just not as creative as their. I've repeated myself.
but yeah,
6 times.
I understand.
No, it's all, no, it's all good, bro.
So, Gabe,
Make it-
what is your opinion on Yankee?
So I actually did not know you pronounce it Yankee. I always thought it was Yankee.
Yankee.
Stupid.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
No, you are a Yankee. Like
yeah, I know. But that has QU. Okay, anyway. Yankee at the moment, as it stands, is I think my least favorite release from Godspeed, but I still think it's great. I really like the use of drone on this album. I think it's I wouldn't say it's an outlier, but I would definitely say that it's a bit fresher. But I haven't spent enough time with this album, I think, to really form a true opinion on it in terms of how I really feel about it. I can just kind of appreciate for what it's worth, kind of like FA Infinity. It's definitely not like my experiences with Skinny Fist, where I have a lot to say and I can definitely, have a true feeling on it. I just think that Yankee is a solid album. Pretty excellent example of what Godspeed's good at. I think the perfect thing that Sweat said is that it's a Godspeed record. You can kind of tell that off the bat. I think if there's anything that's probably my favorite on here, it would probably be 9:15:00, like just both parts. I think that's my favorite sequence, I guess you can say, on the whole album. The two tracks that open it, I think they're great. And at the moment, they're probably the best tracks for me. I used to have this a little bit higher, but I haven't listened to it very often or recently, so I bumped it down. But I definitely think it's something something that's worth revisiting for me, 100%.
I understand. Phallus has not listened to this album.
I've heard
What
of the
did you
first
think?
track because I thought I was gonna listen to it like just before the podcast, but apparently I was an hour like out of whack because it's a different time zone and I didn't take into account daylight saving, so I just heard the first track.
It's actually Godspeed's fault.
Yeah. What did you think?
It is pretty. Don't influence my opinions before I hear the album yet. But
No.
the first track was pleasant. I think I don't remember much. I heard it once while panicking because I realized that I was not going to be able to listen to the entire thing. But I remember the first track.
You're gonna listen to it later, I suppose. I hope.
I
I would say the first track is pleasant. I say it doesn't work as well as the other songs from Godspeed.
Actually, I'm sorry, but I just realized that like I haven't heard any of the rest, so
No. Okay.
I'll just don't worry. I'll be here for the next legendary podcasts. I know
Oh,
it
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
legendary from what Chris just said.
But yeah.
but
Take care, my boy.
take care, Chris.
So continuing,
Right.
after
Five
after
people again.
it's still more, but still, after Yankee, they would take a long break, long break. But there would be some bootlegs that came in the way, like Monheim Sojas, that is from 1998. I don't know if anyone here has heard it.
I have not.
I don't. haven't heard any
Okay,
of the
so
bootlegs.
they would be releasing bootlegs that are actually some great, amazing, like the one that has Nantes France on the name. It's from 2003. It
I should listen. Do the bootlegs do anything drastically different? Like, do they do a lot more of the sound of Yankee than Yankee
nope,
does?
in a way. The
Oh,
the
okay, I guess
1998
I'm
the
not gonna listen.
1998 ones, the 1998 one has a great rendition, a short rendition of the Dead Flag Blues, and a solo rendition of She Dreamt She Was a Bulldozer, She Dreamt She Was Alone in a Lonely Field, that is 20 minutes long, and it's fucking great. And the one
That does.
and the
oh,
one
so it's a
in
live
Nantes
podcast.
France, are all standalone songs, and some of them are like sections of the tracks extended. For example, there's the Death Metheny part that is extended to 20 minutes. And the Death Flag Blues is used as an outro. So yeah, I mean, if you want to listen to the bootlegs, I highly recommend them. In 2012, they would release their follow-up album after a long time called Hallelujah, Don't Bend, Ascend. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Which I think
Get it right.
I don't know. I mean, it's certainly still Godspeed, especially with their long tracks like Melodic and with drift like Word Fire. And they have two shorter tracks called their Helicopter Sing and Strong Light Lights at the Printemps Irable. However, I think this has. I put it at the same level of Yankee. That it works well, but not as well as other Godspeed albums. I think it's a great album still. I love Melodic. I love the opener a lot, and I actually love the first two tracks, Melodic and their Helicopter Sing. But after that, I feel that it kind of drifts towards another point of view, to put it in a way. Um, there's not a lot I have to say about this record. Mainly that I like Melodic is one of my favorite tracks from them, and also the final track, the Strong Like Lights. It's highly recommendable as well. But yeah, I mean, I love Melodic. It's definitely something that I recommend a lot. Uh, it's a kind of weird for an album, like for me, for an album that starts really strong and then goes weaker and weaker with each track. But yeah, it's a good comeback, to put it in a way. Hurley, what do you think of Hallelujah?
So this is basically just start of a decline, and don't get me wrong, this is the last album by the band that I care about, that I hold dearly, because Melodic is one of the greatest things I've ever heard, and I mean that with in a serious way, because the way that it the way that it opens with like a drone, and then it builds up into something hard hitting and aggressive. It's like it's orgasmic in a way. And it makes. Sorry.
I'm just quoting the intro, which is their last.
Yeah.
One. That's a really
Yeah. All good. Yeah. Because the way because it makes you come, and I hate. I hate saying that.
Do you hate saying that? Because you say it quite often.
Come,
What
I'm not
come?
sure.
of course.
Come. Well, not really, but like the last like 8 minutes of it are like 20 out of 10 material, well, the whole song is 20 out of 10 material because of how amazing and hard-hitting, aggressive the opener is. And that leads us to There Were Helicopters Sing, which is an amazing drone. I don't understand why many people don't really like it, that track that much. But it fucks you up. And then it leads you into With Drift Like Wildfire, which is nearly just as amazing as Melodic, I reckon. And it's not as aggressive or hard-hitting as Melodic, but it's still a 10 out of 10 song because of how mysterious and melodic it is in a way. And then it sort of like climaxes near the end, and that's where You Come Again. And yeah, amazing fucking song. And then, it ends kind of, well, I like the closing track. I think it's great, but I don't think it ends that well, in my personal opinion. Like, what's it called again? Song Like
Yeah,
Life
it's a
with the
kind of
Free
tricky
Endless
name, yeah.
Something. Yeah, I can't pronounce it well. It's great. It's really great, but I don't really find myself wanting to listen to it that much because of how. So that's pretty much the part where I just zone out because it's like it's great, but am I really gonna listen to it? And yeah, I love this album. It's a hard, aggressive, heavy, loud, and pretty much in your face. Well, in your face sort of, but it's like attention grabbing album. Also, this is the only Godspeed album I have on vinyl. And the packaging for it is really fantastic because like the long songs are like in a 12-inch vinyl, while the shorter ones are like in 7-inch. So like really interesting packaging that the band has to provide. I found it at I found it for only $25, which is a pretty good price. And so yeah, I recommend grabbing the record if for anyone that loves it.
I think
because
I would
really
grab
is
it just for
fantastic.
Melodic
So,
because I think
as a-
Melodic is one of their best songs, to be honest. And
Yes, it sounds amazing. It sounds amazing on vinyl. And also, one more thing. The band has always had a thing for its packaging on CD that's like unusual because the slow bright packaging on CD, it opens the opposite way instead of the right way that you normally get with CDs. And with Alleluia on CD, the CD it's packaged in a way like you would get on a vinyl. Because the CD is like inside of a vinyl like way, something like that. Oh, sorry, it's raining in the background if you can hear it. But yeah, it's packaged in the way a vinyl would. And because of that, I think the band does its packaging really well. And I recommend grabbing it if you really like CD packaging. And yeah, that's all I have to say on Alleluia. Alleluia. 5th favorite Godspeed album. 9.5 out of 10.
I understand. I understand your points. I agree mainly that as I said, it starts strong with Melodic and then it falls like kind of in quality, to be honest. But yeah.
Well, no, I love the free tracks. I love them. Love them. Well, the Helicopter Sings is not a 10 out of 10 song, but it still does the effect for me. But it's only the closing track that kind of bumps a little bit.
Yeah, I
In a
understand.
way.
Gabe, what do you think of Alleluia?
So I actually really like Alleluia. I think that this is a great return for the band, because they took that 10-year break in between Yankee and this album. And I pretty much think that what they're doing here is, I wouldn't say it's similar to Yankee, but I think they kind of took the same sort of drone that they were experimenting with mostly on Yankee, and I think they improved it here. I really Love Melodic, of course. Great intro track, and probably my favorite on the album, actually. But I also really, really like the 2 6.5 minute drone interlude, you can call that, I guess. They're shorter tracks, definitely, compared to the 20-minute centerpieces here. Their helicopters sing and strung like lights at the Printemps Arab. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Oh, good.
So basically, I think that this is a improvement on the kind of concepts they were showing on Yankee, and I really, really love it. Actually, I'd go all the way to say it's a masterpiece. I have it at a 9 out of 10 as well. So I'm kind of in the same boat as Hurley here. Yeah, it's incredible. I haven't heard anything past this though. So
No
this is where I'm
problem.
gonna be bowing
Next
out.
week,
I do have
you're
to
gonna
head out as
expect
well.
you to be on the podcast. So yeah,
Okay, I will try. That's gonna be a really busy Saturday for me. I'm literally gonna be up until like 4 a.m. for another reason. So we'll see if I can make it. If it doesn't take us till like midnight to get to the second album we're covering, I'll be fine. So,
don't worry. I mean, it's just the second
for having
album,
me,
the one
as
you listen
always.
to, so it's gonna be quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But thank you for having me. And,
goodbye.
have a good rest of the podcast, guys.
Right, see ya.
So Soup, what do you think of Alleluia?
I am also in Hurley's boat. Yeah, this is just a really, I don't want to say return to form because it's a very different, it's a very new sound. I can't fucking word shit, but yeah, it's just
Yeah, I understand that. It's kind of a change in formula,
okay. I can't word shit now.
but I
I'm trying to
I
not
understand
word
what you
shit.
mean.
Well,
It's a kind of a different sound. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like coming back kind of with something. Yeah, it's very new, very drone heavy sound, like heavy and like the focus. And, just starting with Vladik is just so awesome, and that's kind of grown to be one of my favorite tracks across their whole discography. It's such a great build up. Just the inclusion of the strings, just playing this great melodies. Everything just comes together. It kind of culminates everything that they have been to this point, that the band has been to this point, and then with the other 3 tracks, very again very heavy in the drone ambient, very beautiful stuff. It's kind of all I have to say about it. It's also a 9 out of 10. I also gave that. Just great shit.
I understand. My main problem with it is that it falls in quality a little bit. But yeah,
Yeah, the first track definitely overshadows everything else for me. Just that opener is just so great.
yeah. Sweat, what do you think of Alleluia?
Before I get into it,
Yeah,
did
he couldn't
Gabe
he
leave?
couldn't stay.
Yeah, he's leave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this record, well, before we get into the record, I just want to say Melodic, god damn, what a way to return this band to like, holy shit, like, this is the best track they've made since Skinny Fist. Like, when I first listened to this in order, disappointed by Yankee, and this coming back, like. And then I heard that this track was like written around that. Apparently, this and Worried Fire were both written like around that.
Yes, they were.
So yeah,
Yeah, and it's like live bootlegs with like performances like as early as like 2003. It's like yeah.
So, but yeah, with the albums, this song is like it's like what Yankee should have been. Like it's such a climactic track. Like it packs such a. I can't even like put in it's a thing I can't really put into words. It's just another perfect execution of formula that this band like implies. And then the song ends and it goes into a really lackluster drone, and then it goes to a really lackluster song after that, and then it ends with a boring drone. Oh my god, I cannot emphasize enough how unnecessary this album was. I'm.
You cut out a bit.
Oh, sorry. I was saying I cannot emphasize like melodic is the only fucking noteworthy part of this album by far. Like the rest of the record does nothing. Like the drones all are compressed and they have like this sound, and the soundscape's like is like really intrusive and it doesn't work at all in my opinion. And then like We Drift Like Worried Fire is such a I don't. It in terms of melodic, which has this structure, and it's like you can really tell each section and each part stands out as its own thing. That song just does not in any way, shape, or form. It's just like all of these different sections that don't particularly blend with each other, and then this climax that doesn't really. I also want to say that this started the trend of their new production-wise sounding really, really bad. Not like I guess not bad, but like certainly not very good. Like this is their worst produced album so far, and that really takes a lot out of most of the material here, which is a shame. And then
yes,
and I just don't think Godspeed is good at drones, with the exception of one track. I don't think they do this style well. It's just very cluttered and not enjoyable to listen to. And I really like drones, but this is not good.
Yeah, I understand.
So yeah, basically summarizing, take the first track, don't listen to the rest.
Well, yes, the production is a bit cluttered, but it doesn't really matter to me because it gives off like a loud and energetic feel to it. It gives that approach to me personally. So like I couldn't care less if it sounded cluttered. And yes, the band does have an issue with production later on, but I'm not gonna explain it here just now until we get to until we get to
no, don't worry. I understand. I understand your points, but yeah, I agree with a lot of things that Sweat said, and as I was saying, melodic is the outstanding tracks here, and then it kind of falls flat to me. But yeah, after this, they would really. I'm not sure if this counts as a proper album. But they released Asunder Sweet and Other Distress. Which it kind of to me it is their weakest release. To be honest, to me it's their weakest release. It does have a song that I love that is called "Peace Crowns Are Trebled." That is the last song. However, the build up until there, it doesn't quite work for me, to be honest. But the last song, oh damn, it's 13 minutes of just. I mean, I have no more to say. It's really great for me. I like the first track as well, Peasantry or Light. I don't like. I kind of have mixed feelings about A Lamb's Breath and Asunder Sweet, but yeah, basically that I have to say. It's just. Is their weakest release yet? It's not their worst, to be honest, but I don't like because they don't have a single bad album for me. But yeah, it's pretty enjoyable. So Hurley, what do you think of Asunder Sweet and Other Distress?
Okay, so this is my least favorite Godspeed album. I think it's flawed, like really flawed. But I don't think it's bad. I think it's a good record. It's a good record that I can just put on. But like, the thing is that
Asunder Sweet.
What are we on?
Yeah, Asunder Sweet and Other Distress.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, the shitty one.
You spoiled it. But I will say, Peasantry or Light, Inside of Light, the first track is amazing. It's gorgeous. It's really joyful. It reminds me a little bit of Alleluia in a way. But the rest of the songs afterwards just don't really well, actually, I should probably mention that this is meant to be like one giant song that goes on for 40 minutes long. I've heard it. But if we put but it doesn't, as like one giant 40-minute song, it doesn't work. I reckon, because you have the songs separated as different tracks, which it's good enough, but it doesn't. I don't care enough for it to be one giant song. I reckon. Lamb's Breath does like a pretty cool drone, but there's a pretty cool drone of that bass that overshadows it a little bit. But it's decent enough. But like Ascender Suite, it's mediocre, and I just don't care. I don't care at all. And Piss Crowns Are Trembled. Yes, it is. Chris Crowns Are Trembled is a good song, but like when it opens up, it doesn't. It sorry, I'm struggling to talk about it. It doesn't. It sounds like a bit of a copy of the first track, if that makes any sense. And when it does get to like the final few minutes, when it's transitions, it is absolutely incredible. It pisses me off that the whole track wasn't like that. So it annoys me that I have to wait through a section that it does nothing for me. And yeah, it is. It's. I'm starting to come across as someone that doesn't like this record. I do like it. Don't get me wrong, but it kind of annoys me in a way because you have a record. Because this is coming off of an album that is aggressive and hard hitting and amazing in like nearly every single way. But then you get this, and it's like, okay, it's good, and that's all. That's all it gives you. It's a disappointment, really. And that's all I have to say about it. Really. It just blue balls.
I understand.
It's disappointing.
Soup, what do you think of Ascender?
Fucking hate that clock. Okay, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, Soup.
Nice.
Yeah, it's just okay. You know how last week we were talking about Nine Inch Nails, just kind of like that string of albums.
Uh-huh.
I was really depressed because they're all very, very okay. Yeah, these last two.
Oh, damn.
See, I can point out something there because even they're doing something different.
Yeah, they
Like
are.
these Godspeed albums, it's just so by the numbers post rock. Don't change it up.
Yeah,
Aw.
just not much here. You know? I don't even like remember much from it. Like I do remember like there's like definitely this heavier direction, but clearly it didn't do shit because I don't remember that happened. So that yeah, it's kind of disappointing to see these last two like records just such non-entity. You know, kind of why I had to say yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. Because like from here on out, the band, it sounds like the band is going for a more post metal, if that makes any sense.
I
a more
wouldn't
heavier
know.
side. Well,
Like on the first
Yeah.
track, but that's it. I don't
well,
really
yeah. Yes, a more heavier, a more like
Like, I guess-
heavier.
like a
gritty.
more drum based thing. I
Yeah.
wouldn't call it heavier. Atlantic is still heavier than any of the songs on here.
Yeah, because it's like it's trying to do something different, and yes, it is different, but I don't think they succeed in it that 100% well. Yeah, I'm gonna shut up about this album now before I start crying because of how much of a disappointment this album is. Are we done with this album or?
No, Sweat, what do you think of Asunder? I thought Hurley was gonna go in.
Well, what I think of Asunder, I think it's their best
Nice.
record, honestly.
Nice.
I think they get everything right. You know, the second track, it's just one booming drone. You know, it totally sucks. There's literally no life to it. Yeah. Again, they emphasize that, man, we're Godspeed and we can really do drone. Because they're fucking proud of it on this record. You can tell. They have this whole section that's just these incredibly non-effective parts. And like, one thing I will say is the intro of this record is like very promising. Starting with drums, like that drum beat is such a cool. I think the first song is a very solid track. Again, it's got a similar problem. This album structuring that they do on these reunion albums, it's just like not a good way to. It's not a very fundamentally good album flow. Like you have a repetition of like 2 drone tracks, songs. Not like to say that the drone ones aren't songs, but like 2 meteor tracks, and like this formula done by Godspeed just doesn't do anything. Like, it's a decent way to distance them from like all of the other post rock, but like even then it doesn't. Like, this just sounds like a by the numbers post rock. Like, even Yankee, for all of the shit I gave it, that still sounds like it was made by Godspeed. This is just like any fucking band could have made this shit. It's not. It doesn't. It's emblematic of the state of post rock at that current time. It's just not enjoyable. I can't dig it. They're not good at drone. Their production is the worst so far. I don't know, man. I don't like it.
I think it's the worst one. Yeah.
I don't know if it's the worst one. I think I might say Alleluia.
Oh, damn.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, Alleluia has the best, like, has what this could have been. Like, Melodic is a perfect song, but like we've already talked about this, but like I can't emphasize how mediocre the rest of that. I don't know. I don't see how a lot of people think it's a drastic improvement than what they would do in the future. But like, I don't know. All of these reunion albums and Yankee to an extent are just like not. They just don't exist, really. Like, you can't, for how emotional and evocative the early records of this band were, how they flopped on their heads so much and couldn't get any emotion from this music. It's just, I don't know how to really explain it. It's just not. I don't get it.
I get what you mean. To me, this is their worst one. I think even though Alleluia.
I get someone thinking any of the reunion. Like,
Yeah. It's just that Soup is posting one of the best pictures ever on the in general.
Oh, no.
After this,
pretty good.
the band would release in 2017 their last album to date, Luciferian Towers. I personally, I think this is one of their best records. I love
a lot of
Anthem
people-
for No State. I love that song. I love Bosses Hang. I think the album has an interesting flow to it, and even though it is by the books post rock, it still has some unique aspects to it. I love Anthem for No State. As I said, especially their live performances of the song. I'm doing with Luciferian Towers. I think it's great.
Oh yeah, sorry to interrupt, but yeah, that's another thing I like. My friend saw this group live during like Luciferian tour, I believe, and he said that these tracks, the reunion ones, were meant to be played live.
Yeah,
Which is
you can see that. I mean, when I
like maybe like the studio production of these reunion albums are crap. Like, at least compared to their other stuff. Like, so I'd imagine that if you were there in a setting, that these tracks would most likely kick ass. Like, I feel like as a touring band, they haven't lost any of their initial impact, probably. But I can't really comment on that yet, because again, I still haven't seen them. It's just about the new stuff.
Yeah, I wish I could see them live, especially during this era of them. I have heard
I
bootlegs
wish.
of the band of this era of the Luciferian tour, and you can tell that these songs and even the Hallelujah melodic sounds incredible live. Melodic sounds just fucking mind blowing live, and I love this album. I think it's the best one from the return. Anthem for No State is incredible. And I love what they do with this flow of short track, then long track, then short track, then long track. And I think this is the shortest one of the return. I'm not sure. I think this is 44 minutes long. I love it. I certainly think that what they did here with the sixth full length album, um, it's a change in their sound that it's more ominous and more melodic than what they were used to doing in their previous records. And I think it works better in that way, in that sense. I understand people don't like not liking it or thinking it's the worst. I've heard people thinking it's the worst. Um, I think it's great. Undoing a Luciferian Towers is a fucking great opening, and I love the closer, the Entrepreneur Say. I'm not gonna get tired of saying that. But yeah, I mean, even conceptually, I think this is one of their most to the
Where would you put it in your ranking?
as I said, and my third favorite. First one would be Live Your Skinny Fist. Second one would be the CD version of FA, and third one would be Luciferian Towers. Um, I would put it there.
Okay. That's fair.
But yeah, I think it's there's not much. I encourage people to listen to this to see even if it's a by the numbers post rock album. I think it's a really atmospheric and kind of dense and suspenseful compared to what the melancholic feeling the other albums had. This is much more suspenseful than their other material, but I like it a lot. Hurley, what do you think of Luciferian Towers?
Okay, so without a doubt, it is an improvement over Ascender. Without a doubt. Okay, I've said that twice now. But it's still flawed in a way, but I'd much rather listen to this album than Ascender because it has a lot more highlights. Undoing a Luciferian Towers is an incredible opener. It is fantastic. The way that strings and other instruments involved just come in is amazing, and the way that does it sort of climax at the end? Not really, but the way the drums come in too is brilliant. Boss's Hang, it opens off a bit lame, but when it gets into like this groove, it's actually amazing. It's fantastic. And then when that lame part comes back on again, it actually comes back with a bigger and louder force that makes it a little bit more worth it. So yeah, and there's that. And then the next track, Famine is mediocre. It's such a nothing song, and it just feels like they threw it in there. And it's kind of a shame because I was actually really enjoying this album as I listened to it. Everything from No State, it does remind me of Piss Crowns and Trembled, but a little bit more better. And yeah, I do enjoy that song a little bit more than Piss Crowns and Trembled. So,
You like the crap.
Yeah, understandable. But the way that, my flaws come in with the production. The production on this is ass. Like, it sounds muddy. It sounds so claustrophobic.
I don't think it sounds any more muddy than any of the albums. They all kind of sound this kind of quality. I don't see a difference particularly.
Yeah, but with like the albums before, it did have a muddy feel, but like you couldn't really care about it with Alleluia and Ascender. But like with this album, it's the most claustrophobic, and it's like annoying. It's annoying too because without that claustrophobic feel, Undoing the Luciferian Towers, the song, the opener, would be a 10 because it's an incredible song and I love it. And so with the impression that this album gives me, it gives me the impression that the band realizes that they can do better. And I hope that with the next studio album that they can really come back and release something.
Are they gonna release another album? I'm not sure about that.
No, I don't think they're gonna release another Live Just
No, but another album. No. I mean, are they on plans?
Yeah, it's been a
Well,
while.
yes. Someone who this is the first time I'm leaking this. So I know someone that has a sister who runs the festival All Tomorrow's Parties, where the band had performed, and she had met them. And she says that the band are planning to release another studio album this year. So, yeah, I could be wrong. It's only a claim. So, I have the feeling that the band are going to release another album this year. And so the band has a thing for whenever someone records the show, the band would, the band's comfortable and they allow them to release these bootleg shows on the internet. So there comes 2 new songs, and I actually really, really, really enjoy both of those songs. And I'm actually hoping, I'm praying, well, maybe not praying, but I'm hoping that when these 2 songs become studio versions, we could get something out of them, because I still have hope in this band. I just want a great Godspeed
I want
album.
them to do something different album-wise.
Yeah.
That's all I want, because all the albums thus far, the 2 ambient, the 2 so fucking repetitive. They got I'm sure they have. I hope they just have something different. I just want them to challenge them.
Yeah, and that's what I'm hoping for most bands too. I want bands to do different challenges, because if they repeat on the same thing over and over and over again, it's just gonna be like one of those bands that no one cares about it. Yada yada. But I do have a feeling that with this next album, they could go on a different approach. But that could be. Bless you. It could be. No, as always. So I don't want another Live Your Skinny Fist. I don't want another Yankee. I don't even want another Alleluia. I'm just hoping for an album by the band. That's great. That's all I'm asking for. With good production and with good ideas thrown into it. And I think they can do that. And I'm hoping for it. And that's all I have to say about Luciferian Towers. I'm proud of it. I'm sorry, one more thing. I am proud of this album. I am glad that it exists, because it does show that the band has a direction. They have a self-awareness of what their fans are thinking. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I understand. Honestly, I think they can do. I hope they do much better than this, because I love this album. But if they come up with something much more solid than this, like in flow, I agree that Famine is the only track that gets me out of the road. Besides that, I think that every single track here is perfect. Yeah. Soup, what do you think of Luciferian Towers?
I don't really have much to say on this one. It's just, again, a much more solid effort. I didn't.
You didn't like it as much as the other albums.
Okay. It's good. It's just
That's all it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's a good Godspeed You album, and that's all I can really say about it.
Sweat, what do you think?
They follow the formula pretty well, and it's good. Yeah, yeah. On a Sweat, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to comment on this, because this record, that it has their one good.
It has their what? It has
one good drone track. One good drone track, you said.
Yeah, their first good drone track. Like they demonstrate a good mastery of atmosphere and texture. Even if, again, fucking why they decided to get this type of mixing and production here, it's just, I don't know. Yeah. Boss's Hang also has a quite nice melody that I really like. Even though I think at this point that is their most standard and not normal song. It barely sounds like them. It just sounds the most like they just keep getting more and more predictable each record, it seems like.
Sure.
I think this is a more solid effort than their past two. I definitely would not put it. I put it maybe close to being as good as Yankee, but even Yankee, like I can still like I still care about that album. I don't really care about it. It's like nice to listen to, nice background music. It has the same flaws as their last two. It's just like repeating myself at this point with my opinions on this.
You're good.
Yeah, I don't know. They just it's just not. There's nothing here really other than just like enjoyable music.
But yeah, I mean, I hope they release another album.
I'm still willing to give their next record a chance. Like
I do think
That's so much
they're
time.
gonna. I do think they're gonna.
I'm pessimistic here. I don't think that. I don't really think they'll ever really do anything interesting. I hope they do. I don't think. But you know.
But yeah, I mean, I hope they release a record that improves upon this formula, and I think they will never get to the level of FA or Live Your Fists. But yeah, after this was the last studio album, a fan on YouTube released a bootleg called Brown Shirts Drown in Glazer's Rice.
Yeah, like a friend.
And I actually
made
like this one a lot,
combination of-
honestly.
I think this is pretty. Yeah, I've heard this one. This is pretty interesting. Again, it's still taking. All the material is taking two pretty lackluster albums, but the flow is a lot better. I don't think it's nearly. I still think it's quite mediocre, but I think it's an interesting fan bootleg. It's still better than the records on their own, which is funny. It's definitely fucking better than Asunder, and it's definitely better than Luciferian. But yeah, I think it's a very good fan boot.
But yeah, I mean, and after this, there's not any. Yeah, that's it.
That's it, right?
And
except for the.
yeah,
two
but
songs they were
yeah, but
First
they don't. Yeah, I haven't heard them. I haven't seen any of their recent live shows.
You should.
But yeah, I mean,
They seem like a live
yeah,
act.
I hope they
primarily now.
release a new album. But yeah, this was Music Buddies. We were butchered down on members because they had to leave. And yeah, next week we're gonna talk about Weezer's discography.
Oh, fuck,
Ew.
are we
We're gonna
really
talk about Weezer. Yeah, it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant for me either. But yeah,
I've heard every Weezer album, but I'm not sure if I have stamina to talk about such a band for like hours.
I'm probably not gonna show up. 'cause
I don't think
give a shit
anyone
about
here
Weezer.
gives a shit about Weezer. I certainly only give a shit about their first two albums, and then that's it. But yeah. Next week is gonna be about Weezer, and
Yeah.
I hope you guys have a pleasant weekend. And this has been Music Buddies. Goodbye.